This week in the Proving Grounds. Hey, guys, how long has this been in the fridge? Because it looks spoiled.
Man, you got to put a date on that. Hey, clean it out every once in a while.
Welcome to Magic Proving Grounds, the only Magic the Gathering podcast that proves rehashing your old family drama is the best way to spend the holidays. I'm your host, Moderator Dave, and with me we have Ben.
Hello.
Also joining us is other Dave.
Present and accounted for.
You finally rested up from your world globe-trotting shenanigans?
Yeah.
Okay. I was worried. You sound a little sleepy. What have you guys been doing this?
Well, I finished the Magic Arena Battle Pass for the first time in a long time.
Sweet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think the last time I finished Battle Pass was like one of the Ravnica ones, maybe.
Wow, that's been a minute.
What do you get at the end?
It's all cosmetics, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a alternate card art. I can't remember which one is at the end, but yeah.
Nice.
And you get your pet changes forms a few times over the battle pass, and
Yep. I think the closest I've ever been to completing the battle pass is like 2 levels away, 2-3 levels from completion.
So when they first started them, I felt like they were much easier to finish, but also they weren't putting out sets every 2 months, 3 months, or whatever.
That's true.
I felt like I finished all of the first 3 or 4 of them with plenty of weeks to spare. And then after that, it was like, you can't take a week off or you're not going to finish it.
Yeah. Did they add more experience to it? Stop giving out experience? Because they used to give out experience left and right. And they were like, here's a code for 1,000 experience.
Right. They used to give out experience, and they used to have events too.
Mm-hmm.
That rewarded experience. Like the first battle pass, I think it was like the second to last week. They were like, we're just going to put out this event where for each win you get 1,000 experience, and you can play it as many times as you want.
Wow.
And so at the very end, you could just grind out all of your levels if you hadn't finished it.
Somebody was trying to get somebody addicted to battle passing.
Yeah. What it seems like.
Yeah. It's suspicious.
And then they also took more gems out of them too. You used to get 2,000 gems out of the battle pass. Now you only get 1,200.
Yeah, definitely been shifting around the economy, it seems. What have you been up to, Ben?
Couple different things. I built a mono blue tempo deck on Arena because it cost me 2 wild cards. I think the only wild card in here pretty much is Haughty Djinn. I think that's it. Everything else is just uncommon.
And which format is that?
Standard.
No.
Uses Haughty Djinn and Tolarian Terrors and Delvers of Secrets. And then you just cast a bunch of cantrips, counter spells, shore up, slip out the back, that kind of stuff. Impulse. Just to tempo your opponent
How
out.
does it compare to the mono blue tempo that was in the standard previously? Do you know?
It's a lot different because the other one was a spirit type deck, and the spirit engine kind of went with rotation, like the ascendant spirits from Kaldheim weren't in there. So this is a different approach. It mostly does the Delver's Secrets, which become I forget what it's called on the back, but a 3/2 flyer if you reveal an instant before you draw instant or sorcery. Haughty Djinn gets power equal to a number of instants in your thing, and Tolarian Terror costs less for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. Yeah, so it's kind of just playing off of it's got synergy with you're casting a lot of instants to protect your things and also tempo the guy out or your opponent out, but your creatures benefit from those. So
yeah,
it's neat. I don't know if it's the end all deck, but for only costing me 2 wild cards, it seems to be working well.
You should post that list in the Discord so we can put it on the Mox field.
Okay.
also, other Dave should post his historic list that he was talking about last week, so I could put it on the Mox Field, so that people can check these decks out that y'all are brewing.
I can't have people steal my deck. This is proprietary information.
Hands off my deck.
The only other place that this file exists, it is on a piece of paper at Mar-a-Lago.
In an unlocked pool supply closet out behind the Mar-a-Lago. Anyways, Lord.
So other than that, we did some streams for modern content.
Yeah.
Where we played some... what did we do? I can't remember all we did last week. Why don't you take that one?
Burn. Let's see. We did Burn versus the creativity deck. Burn versus... What was the other one? Burn versus... I know the creativity deck was the one that giving me the most trouble. But we probably did Burn versus Murktide as well. But I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Burn versus...
we did. So funny thing is, I played this league. Listen, okay, other Dave, we didn't tell you this. So I played Burn. I went and did a league for Modern, and we played Burn. And I got to, I think it was my first opponent even, and they lay an Omnath. I had him to 10 health, right? And I have 5 fucking direct damage spells in my hand, and only one of them, it was a lightning bolt, could deal damage to a creature. So there's an Omnath on the board. This dude's gaining life, and I can't kill it. I can go my other 4 spells to the face, but I can't kill this stupid Omnath. I like rage quit and scooped the entire league and everything. I was so mad that it does no good to damage your opponent when they have an Omnath on the board. I guess that's the way that the Burn deck is, which is interesting. There's only 7 or 8 spells that actually hit creatures in the thing. Mm-hmm. Everything else, it's face or planeswalkers. It's kind of annoying, but
I don't know. I found it absolutely hilarious because I was watching the stream when you scooped. You're like, "Oh, damn, fuck that."
Dude, I like rage. I like rage quit.
I was getting worried for your personal safety.
So mad,
but it was funny.
I guess it's just how the wind's blowing for Burn. I guess I think we can do better though. I'd like to figure something else out. I understand why it's that way, because you're trying to get under everything.
I mean, I feel like Burn has kind of been falling off for a while, right? Like,
yeah. In Modern, it's a big staple, and it's people pick it up right after a banning, because it's the deck that they have, and it's kind of evergreen, and they're not sure what the meta is going to shift out like. But it's definitely not in its current iteration. Maybe it's not the super top tier, I guess, but it is there. It exists.
It's a relatively inexpensive deck to play too, so I think that has a lot of its a lot to do with its longevity in the format.
Yeah, like I know it's been around for a while, and it's relatively easy to construct and pilot. But I don't feel like it's ever really had any success, right? Like it's just been around. It's not out there winning tournaments though.
It'll steal a tournament here and then, but it won't dominate. No,
I feel like it's a if you know how to play it really well. I feel like general feel of it is that it's a deck for just grinding out enough wins to keep going, kind of thing. You're never gonna you don't get the 5-0, but you can get a 3-2.
Oh, you can get to 5-0 sometimes.
Fine. I said
and rarely. Also hey, it's the deck you take. It's the deck you take if you just want to sit in the middle of the pack. I'm I
felt like even back when there was a Type 1, Type 2, that the printing of Core Firewalker kind of just killed Burn in a way that it and maybe I'm wrong about that because I wasn't really paying attention to Type 1 back then. I know in Type 2, Burn was impossible because of Core Firewalker.
They used to name formats out of types of diabetes. That's what
they're named after. Old Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, Core Firewalker isn't really played anymore in Modern. Okay. But
I guess that makes things a little bit
easier.
It is
a nice FU to Burn for sure.
Right. I mean, I guess with Burn not being there, that's why it's probably not played in Modern anymore. if Burn ever got something that
Yeah.
made it relevant again, you'd probably start speaking core firewalkers and sideboards again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and different other cards to help. They've printed different cards that do a similar thing. Not exactly what Core Firewalk does that they use, but other things that help, hedge your bets against Burn. Blossoming Calm.
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, Leyline of the Void, or Leyline of Sanctity.
Yeah.
Leyline of Sanctity was already out, but yeah.
That's true, it was. All right, anyway, that's what I've been doing.
I've decided that I'm going to check, before we move on from what we're doing this week, played some limited, some Crimson Vow quick draft, if you will, because I'm going to try to push towards becoming a better limited player by playing asinine amounts of quick draft on Arena. That's my goal.
Nice.
I'll keep everybody posted. 2 games. So on my last Crimson Vow quick draft. So I mean that's better than I usually do, which is goose egg. So progress already.
Okay. I watched this guy on Twitch. I just want to plug him real quick if you're into limited. His name is Caleb D. He is kind of like the cube draft master, and watching him, he tells you a lot of strategies. He tells you why he's picking a card and what it does for him and stuff. So if you're into limited,
didn't you plug him last week too?
Did I?
I'm pretty
He's
sure
a really good streamer. I think it might have. I don't know. I used his code. What did I do?
Anyways. No, I used to at one point listen to like.
Are you getting an advertising check that you're not telling the rest of us about, Benoit?
You got to split that 3 ways, man.
No, I wish. It'd be great. One of these days, Alice.
Speaking of Mountain Dew's brand new. I'm kidding.
This sounds very suspicious.
Don't say it unless they give us the money. The money in hand, then we say the product.
Anyways, limited. There's lots of great limited podcasts and limited people to listen to. Listen to a lot of them. The thing is that I'm just a big fat dummy, and none of that stuff like sticks in my brain when it comes time to draft. I go blank slate. I'm like, I'll keep you guys posted on if I get any better. You guys ready to get into the meat of this podcast?
Is it tainted meat?
Tainted? Well, it is time for spoilers. So
yeah, it's ew. I don't eat spoiled meat. You leave it in the sous vide too long. Yuck. Did that just kill the podcast?
You killed me. I'm dead, man. I'm over it.
We shouldn't eat that meat.
You've killed me. I'm dead. Anyways, spoilers for the Bros War. You guys want to go over the new and returning mechanics?
No, I
Okay.
don't. There's no reason to do that because I'm kidding. I'm just giving you hope.
Come on, man. Wait.
We always say yes. We always say yes.
You're like, why do you keep asking me?
Okay, so the new mechanic is a prototype. Prototype is a mechanic that offers an alternative casting cost to your artifacts. All the ones shown here, I guess it doesn't have to be this way, but these ones have collared mana for this set, whereas the artifact has just colorless mana. And you get, with the prototype cost, it's like the early iteration of something, so it has less power and toughness, but it has the same abilities as the bigger card, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird mechanic to explain.
Yeah. So would you like to talk about a specific card from our list of picks so that to better illustrate the mechanic?
Rust Goliath is a 10 mana value card. It costs 10 colorless for 10/10 Reach Trampler. It's an artifact creature construct. So you can pay the 10 mana, get a 10/10 Reach Trample, or you could pay its prototype cost, which is 2 green and 3 colorless, for a 3/5 that also still has the Reach and Trample. So it's like, you got something early game, you get something late game.
Yep. And
better late game.
Flavor-wise, the early game play is, like the prototype, and then you iterate on it and you get something better.
Right.
game.
Or you just flash it out.
Yeah.
Or you just blink it.
I also find these really interesting for things that check converted mana cost. You know, if you pay the prototype cost for 3 to throw out whatever, and its actual converted mana cost is 7, it can't be hit by like eliminate or not eliminate.
Here's
remember how we mentioned rules change? I think that the thing is that if you cast it for its prototype cost, its mana cost, what's on the board is the prototype cost. That's the weird thing about it.
Let me read the rest of this bit I put in there. So prototypes have the prototype characteristics. So that's the smaller mana cost and the smaller power and toughness. On the battlefield, if you cast them for their prototype cost, and while on the stack with the spell's prototype cost. So if you cast it for 3 converted mana value, just throwing that out there, and then you have a spell that's like Fatal Push, while it's on the board, its prototype cost is the mana cost if you cast it for the prototype. So you could target it with Fatal Push.
Okay.
That's been revolted. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, you get what I'm saying.
If you have
right. Yeah. You
know what I'm saying.
It's very interesting and weird because
they did that to prevent things like that from happening, to prevent flashing it and getting the 7/4.
But if it changes zones,
but you can blink it though.
Yeah, you can blink it. The thing that is if it's in any other zone, so if it's in your hand, it's in the graveyard, it's in the library, it's normal characteristics. So it's for the normal casting cost, normal power and toughness. So when it switches zones,
they just have to make this complicated.
It's a new object. It's a new object.
So it doesn't remember that it was a prototype. So blinking it still works. It's just that you can't cheat around mana value targeting, spells that target mana value as a characteristic.
Right. Or the thing that gains life equal to your highest converted mana cost? I guess you can't.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also when it says like, hey, you get how would it work with a Storm the Festival? You reveal the top cards, you pick some with converted mana cost 5 or less and put them into play. You cannot use the prototype in that.
You can't take it because
that's what I would guess as well.
The prototype
in that zone, they are not. Yeah, they're just that.
They're normal characteristics
for their alternate cost. If the card says you may cast it without paying its mana cost, does that mean you can use the prototype? Because you could cast it for the prototype cost. If it says put into play, then you obviously can't.
I mean, I would think you could. That's a judge question. But why?
I don't know. It's a very weird thing, right?
I mean, I'm sure there's an edge case, but most of the time you're going to go for the better version.
Right. Sure.
If you're getting it for freezies, but yeah.
Well, if it just says you may cast it, I don't know. The cast is the operative word there, but anyway, yeah, we'll see. I don't think it's a weird question, but
if only we knew a judge that would come onto our podcast and tell us that we're wrong about
that
things.
Was sarcastic.
Yes.
I wonder how hard it is to become a judge.
Man, I looked into it.
Probably not very hard. You just have to know the rules.
Yeah. Well, you have to take a test, and
there are other things involved.
Yeah. You
have to take a test.
Yeah, tutor with another judge or something.
Yeah, you have to tutor with another judge, and you have to attend a certain amount of events to maintain your judge status.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So,
that's pretty cool.
Let's stay on topic and keep moving. Returning.
I was talking about Magic the Gathering judges, not on topic for Magic the Gathering podcast.
I just want to talk about spoilers, man. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I say you've been so impatient. Every time we're talking about something that's not spoilers, it's moving on.
I want to talk about spoilers. We put this off for so long. I'm starting to Jones for it. All right.
Aren't you the one who like complains about talking about spoilers too?
Yes, because I understand how I am. I get overcome by like if we talked about it all the time, I'd be acting like this all the time.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying to exercise self-restraint here.
Well, let's move on then. I don't want to cause you any mental harm over there with your. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't talk about spoilers at all. Maybe we should cancel the whole thing. Just talk about the returning mechanics to prevent Dave from relapsing into a bad pattern.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
You won't have the anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, you know what we'll do to make sure you don't relapse? We'll have you drop out for the portion where we talk about the spoilers.
That's not cool, man. Doing me for my own Discord.
I'm just trying to help.
Oh my goodness. Y'all are wilding me out. So Power Stones are back. Everybody remembers Power Stones from the other set that had Power Stones.
Yes.
Reiterate what makes Power Stones cool?
Power Stones they make a colorless mana that can be used to cast cannot be used to cast artifact spells. Wait, can only be used to cast non-artifact spells. Wait.
No, it can't be used.
Can't be used to cast non-artifact spells.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. They can still be
and it's
used
worded
for
that way
abilities.
so you can activate abilities. I think that Power Stones are going to prove to be powerful in this set. I think people are going to use them in a way. Every Power Stone they've released so far says tapped Power Stone. I haven't seen one that's not tapped, correct?
Yeah, because
it's not intrinsically a property of Power Stone, but they don't want you to have them immediately, apparently.
Yeah, that was the mistake that they made in Zendikar, the first one, or not Zendikar, the second one, Worldwake, where they had all the things that made the tokens that you could sacrifice for mana the turn you made them. Mm-hmm. And so, like in limited formats, and like people were just like casting 5 spells a turn, and it was kind of crazy.
It's a little wild.
Yeah.
Yep.
So keep that from getting out of hand, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would venture that was the truth.
I'm not sure. I think that it can be used for some really cool things, and I think you'll see some decks like in Arena and Best of One and stuff like that. But I think in Best of Three, especially with Brotherhood's End, I think that being able to counter what people are doing with the Power Stones so easily, and already being a pretty effective sideboard card to begin with, I'm guessing you won't see it in Best of Three all that often.
Mm-hmm. What's Brotherhood's End do?
2 red and a colorless. You can choose one. It either does 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker, or it destroys all artifacts with mana value 3 or less.
Oh yeah, that'll totally wipe out Power Stones.
That's a really good card in general.
Yeah. No, I really, that was, it almost made my list.
Against, yeah.
Just such a good card.
That for only 3, that's kind of nuts. I'm not even gonna lie.
For 3, it's either an early game board wipe, most likely at that point, since there's very few things that are going to have more than 3 toughness.
Yeah.
Or destroy all artifacts.
Yeah.
Where the mana costs 3 or less.
Best guy control. There we go.
It's gonna wipe a lot.
All right. Would you rather play this card or Temporal Firestorm?
Well, I mean, obviously this card. This is definitely better than
this is better than Temporal Firestorm.
All right, we don't have to have an hour-long debate. Great.
Yeah. Unearthed, returning mechanic. You may play a card from the graveyard first. Unearth cost, then at the end of the next end step, or if the card would leave the battlefield, exile it instead. Pretty cool card. Pretty cool mechanic. I like it for flavor purposes in this set, and I think generally it's a good mechanic. Opinions, y'all?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this mechanic. I wasn't playing standard when it was out, but I was playing standard while in Zendikar when it was still available in standard. And Hell's Thunder and the Hellspark Elemental were both really fun cards to play around with. So I look forward to seeing what else they do with Unearth, or how these cards play out.
Previously, I don't remember Unearth is on artifacts in this set, not just creatures, right? It's a new thing, right?
Well, okay. Since we looked this up, that it wasn't on any pure just artifacts. So to clarify, it's artifact things, not artifact creatures, not vehicles, just artifacts.
Yeah, it used to be a creature thing or whatever.
Yeah,
it seems it's just on artifacts, which is flavorful because of the digging that all the excavating they're doing in the story. It's nice flavor. So there's a card in this set that says like, hey, return this to your hand. Oh yeah, it's meticulous excavation. It's like return target permanent to control to its owner's hand. If it has Unearth, instead exile it and then return the card to its owner's hand. It's funny they had to word this card this way because of the way Unearth works. If it leaves the battlefield, you exile it instead. So they have you exile it first and then return it to its hand. I thought that was like an old mechanic in the way they worded it to keep it from being broken. Now the new cards they're printing, they have to word it certain ways to make it work. It's interesting. Design. Trip up, I guess.
Wordy descriptions to make things work properly. Words.
As magic gets more complicated, more words.
Mm-hmm. That's what they see. The thing is that we all thought the trifold cards were going to be like big old creatures with giant artworks and stuff. It's just going to be rules text for each fold.
Yep.
Is what it's going to end up being.
Oh, yeah.
So last returning mechanic is meld. I don't know. We've been talking a lot about the meld cards. I don't know if we really need to go over them much other than how they work is you get 2 cards in play, you meet the conditions set on the cards, and then you flip them over and stick them together to make one double big card. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
That's how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So that's the returning mechanics. Now we're on to my favorite part of this. Oh, I guess we're not, because we have to talk about the commands. And then we're on to my favorite part where I get to talk about my card.
They released a whole new cycle of commands. And traditionally, am I appropriate to say that commands are pretty powerful usually?
And some people's favorite cards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, these commands might be a little different. Are there any of these that are like actual bangers?
No.
This is what surprised me. I was like, looking at these cards, I was like, I don't know about these ones.
I don't know, because I haven't.
So if you had to pick one,
they're all so bad.
I'm gonna pick Gix's command because I like the art.
So Gix's command is the one, like the last one. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the highest power among creatures they control. Is actually a really good mechanic. It is sacrifice. You don't have to target the creature.
Correct.
You don't have to target the opponent.
It's like a controlled edict effect. Like you must choose to sacrifice one, but it can only be the highest power.
But it's also not great if you need to destroy something that's not the highest power.
Yes, that's true.
Well, you have the mode destroy each creature with power 2 or less. You can you get to choose 2. You can take the top end and the bottom end.
Yeah, but I feel like there's too many things that's going to miss that you're going to need to kill, and you're better off just running a traditional removal.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it costs 5 also, and
it's a sorcery.
How about this awesome Urza's command card?
So you
super
joke,
awesome, man.
You joke, but I think it's debatable that it's the best one because it's the only one that's an instant.
Right. It doesn't even have a counterspell mode. I know that there's just not all about that super, but
yeah, and that the tapped 0/0 colorless construct artifact token with the creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control is debatably it's the best mode on there, and it's only useful in a certain shell.
Right.
But at least,
how about scry one then draw a card?
I mean, it's better than the draw card that's on
it's good.
Cryptic.
Yeah.
In theory, one of Cryptic's modes is just draw a card, but everything else on Cryptic is better than everything else on this card.
Yeah.
Kayla's command is bad. It could have been good. Yep. If this card was an instant, it's a banger.
Oh, but give the double strike.
Yeah, if you can give a creature double strike as an instant, like this card's a banger. But this as a sorcery,
and even flash in a 2/2, yeah.
As a sorcery it's not good.
Yeah, but
Mishra's command could at least double up and remove two things. You could remove a creature and a planeswalker.
Yeah,
if they have a creature and a planeswalker. And you could refresh your hand, but also, again, it's a sorcery, and you're probably not going to want to tap out in red to activate this as a sorcery.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you are removing a creature and a planeswalker. So I think maybe there's an argument in here for a sideboard against Lily of the Veil, maybe.
Yeah. And it costs 1 and X, and you choose what your damage is that you're doing or whatever.
And if they have no blockers, the +X+O is basically just getting to do direct damage to their face. Titania's command is probably the best one in standard. If that makes or at least it's the best one for what green is trying to do right now. You combine that with a card that is in Moderator Dave's list there, and you use the +2, the 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, and you could go really wide, really fast. So if you ramped into it and then you cast that with a bunch of little creatures, you can get in there. Plus, you could create 2 green bear tokens. And if you did that first.
Yeah. It's weird that it costs 6. I mean, not that the 6 is the problem. It has the mode to find lands at 6.
Yeah, it's so expensive, but it's the only one that I can see getting main board play in a deck.
I think Mishra's command is the best one, even at sorcery speed, unfortunately. If it was instant speed, it would be good. It's still bad, but I think having the ability to choose what you want to target and kill, plus also the rummage effect?
Yeah.
On it is nice, but they're still all bad. What's your pick, Moderator Dave? What do you think? You said Gix.
I said Gix because of the art, but now that we've talked things through,
yeah,
I don't know.
If they're all bad,
they're all bad. It's like we should be picking which one's the worst. That would probably be a better choice. But I don't know. I still want if Gix was a little less expensive, I'd probably pick that just because.
Yeah, it's a whole different. Honestly, even if it just costs 4, it's a whole different story. But at 5, it's just not impactful enough.
Too spendy. I'm gonna go with Mishra too because I like red. If we're gonna talk mechanically, if we're gonna pick via art, Gix is a badass.
Yeah, I mean, I
think it is really.
If you're talking in a vacuum, I think Mishra's is the best card.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me which one of these could realistically see play in the current environment, I think Titania's has the best chance because they're gonna have mana right now. They're all about mana ramp and little creatures in green. So
yeah.
I mean, the first mode, the exile target player's graveyard, you gain 1 life for each card exiled that way. That can gain you a lot of life against certain opponents. Holy moly, it's kind of a good mode. It just costs 6 though, and like you said, standard. This is not going to be played in anything else except maybe that mono green Stompy deck and Pioneer. But even then, I don't think it makes the cut.
Yeah, I just feel like red has better options right now.
Yeah.
Than Mishra's command, and unless you're like in that one specific environment.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. If any of them have a chance at being a card, it's Mishra's. I'm just not sure any of them have a chance.
I don't think any of these get played.
Yeah. But realistically.
But I mean, in conjunction with, we can
maybe
go ahead
Kayla's command gets played somewhere.
And jump into one of Moderator Dave's cards here, Awaken the Woods.
Yep, do it.
Yeah. So Awaken the Woods is X green. Create X11 green forest dryad land creature tokens at sorcery speed.
Yeah. So using that, if you create a bunch of 1/1s and combine that with Titania's 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, you can get a pretty formidable army. For 6.
Yeah, it's the thing Nisa does all the time. Turning things into 3/3s.
Yeah. But I'm not sure that it's effective enough to warrant putting Titania's command in a deck.
Yeah.
I like Awaken the Woods as a card. Yeah.
I like it as a card. I think it's a really sick card. It provides lands for like pumping Morrow sorcery, or specifically in this set, the Titania meld card that gets the Morrow sorcery stuff for +1 +S/+X for each land you control.
Yeah,
it's pretty sick. Also, great mana ramp.
It's an insane amount of mana ramp.
Yeah, for real. And flavorfully speaking, this is pretty cool because it's kind of a nod to the part of the Brothers War story where Argoth kind of like rises up against both of the brothers who have decided to start shitting all over the island. Great flavor piece too.
And from a design standpoint, you're casting a sorcery that creates lands.
Yeah, I know.
It's a pretty cool thing. I'm not sure that's ever been done before. I think it's brand new.
Yeah, I can't think of a card that does anything similar to this. I don't know all the cards though, so email us if we're wrong. So you guys got any other?
The closest thing I can think of is Ambush Commander, which does kind of the opposite actually. Turns all your forests into 1/1 elves.
Still kind of cool, but yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
So let's go with Ben's pick since we're doing picks now.
Go first, Other Dave. It's just that's the way it is in the document.
I'm going to go with the Platoon Dispenser. Beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more other creatures. Okay, first of all, it costs 5 colorless. It's a 4/6. Beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more other creatures, you draw a card. For a white and 3 colorless, you can create a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact token, and it has Unearth for 2 white, 2 colorless.
You guys keep saying this. I just want to point this out real quick because it makes me feel smart and special. It's not colorless. It's generic mana. Colorless is the little diamonds. But go ahead.
Dave has left the channel.
I can't control myself.
Yep. So, it's a card draw in white in a way that is white's already into, kind of flooding the board with creatures. It also has the ability to create that card draw on its own by making the soldier token. With the Unearth cost, you can bring it back at least once. I really like this card. I'm not sure that it's strong enough to see play, but I really think that this is an effective way to add card draw to white and make it a little bit more powerful.
I like it too. I suppose we'll talk about this particular aspect later, but I really like the way they're handling color and artifacts in this set, but touch on that later.
I do too. All right, I'm going to start off with a banger just to get it out of the way. It's the Stone Brain, costs 2 generic mana, legendary artifact. Pay 2 and tap, exile the Stone Brain, choose a card name, search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. Activate only as a sorcery. So there's a lot to unpack inside of this brain. It looks like a helmet that you just put on, honestly. It's kind of funny. So here's a couple things. You choose a card name. It can be any card, and it can be lands, which is not very common. It can even be basic lands. Then the downside of the player drawing a card for each card exiled only happens to the ones that are exiled from their hand.
Yeah.
Which is a very important distinction as well. So the third thing is it exiles itself. So if you're talking about Karn Wishboards, then you just go back and get it again with Karn, which is also another added benefit, I guess. Obviously, they have to put that clause in there because then you can loop stuff like this and basically destroy somebody very easily. So they have to make it exile to make it harder to get. But Karn, it makes it beneficial for Karn to do that. Obviously, this is like a surgical extraction type effect where you just get all of their card, but you don't. You can name any card. So if you look at their hand, you know what they're playing. Mm-hmm. You can just say Crashing Footfalls or Living End or something and completely just disrupt their entire combo. Mm-hmm. I think this is a modern sideboard card that's going to see a lot of play.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think this is better than what people are already using?
Like its ability to target land. So if you're doing a matchup against the creativity deck that we were practicing with the other day, you could target the Dwarven Mine card that generates tokens and kind of like cut your ability to creativity in half because you don't have that token generating aspect.
Yeah, as an example, you could get Dwarven Mine, but you'd probably just get creativity. But let's say Cavernous Souls.
Okay, there you go.
You're a counter deck. You can't counter because their creatures are all being cast off a counter Cavernous Souls and can't be countered. So you go take all the Cavernous Souls out of their decks. So that's nice. Where you can't get. The other one is if you know, like, so Murktide only runs islands, and if you're on a Blood Moon deck and you want to shut down the counter magic of Murktide, you go take all their islands. And then
you can't take all their islands. You want to take 4 of them.
In that deck, they only run 3. I mean, it's a meta. You know the meta and you know what they're playing usually, and then you can make informed decisions based on that.
So for Blood Moon, it's effective. I'm not sure about the Cavern of Souls play. You'll have to. Is Cavern of Souls not usually their turn 1 drop?
It depends. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't.
Okay.
I guarantee it will be game 2 from now on.
Yeah. I was saying
sometimes it's a turn 2.
Like,
but also,
I mean, the earliest you're going to activate it is turn 3.
Right.
So the reason that I think it's a little bit better than Surgical Extraction is because you can put it in any color deck.
And also you have to Surgical Extraction, the card has to be in the graveyard.
Oh, right. I was thinking of...
So this one you can just name any card.
I was thinking of the old one. The one that's 1 black and 3 colorless.
Is the other benefit, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact it's an artifact is nice, too.
Yep. Very good card.
Do you think it seems main board play or just sideboard play?
I'm going to say sideboard play for now. I don't know that it'll get crazy enough to be main board, but I don't know. It depends on how much combo is a problem. I think that this card is very, very good against combo decks, which is, and specifically in Modern, is a very big, it's on the up and coming, on the rise, right? So if that
are there a lot of decks that start putting into just removing 1 card from the deck? Like if you just get 4 of Amulet Titan, is that deck done?
For Amulet, I think you'd probably target Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, but that deck would be pretty well done. I mean, they can still hit you with the Titan, but their main kill is Valakut, and then like Crashing Footfalls, Living End, Creativity, those all kind of flutter if they don't have their combo piece. Yawgmoth.
Okay, then I can definitely see it seems to play then if those decks can't run with those cards missing.
Yeah, it really so a deck like Yawgmoth could still beat you because of the Undying creatures, but it would be much harder. The matchup would be very bad at that point. So I think it's cool.
Yeah,
and we can
I
move
like
on.
it too. Yeah. So who's going to do the Stone Brain helmet cosplay for the next convention?
It looks like it's made out of foam, honestly.
You could really easily do it. I think it's cool. I like the design of the card and the art and stuff.
Yeah.
Very neat. So moving on, we're going to talk about my next pick. which is going to be Clay Champion, because now we can talk about how they're handling artifacts in this set. So Clay Champion is X generic and then also 4 generic. And then Clay Champion enters the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it for each green mana spent to cast this spell. Each 2 green mana spent to cast this spell. So for 2 green, you get 3 counters.
Each green.
Yeah, each green. And then Clay Champion enters the battlefield. Choose up to 2 other target creatures you control for each white spent to cast Clay Champion. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of the chosen creatures, each of them. So, and it's a 2/2 artifact creature construct. I think this is a neat card. I think that this is the superior way to do colored artifacts. And I like the design of all these creatures that do this because it incentivizes putting them in colored decks, but doesn't force you to do it like the typical colored artifact does.
Right. I mean, in this one's case, 4 for a 2/2 is probably not going to make the cut in a red deck.
No.
Yeah.
You're probably never going to put it in a non-green or white deck, but you have the choice.
It's better than it costing green, white.
Yes, I agree.
You have options, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think this card is really good. I mean, in mono white or mono green, even, I think this card is really good.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
In mono green, it's an 8/8 for 4 or 6. Yeah, an 8/8 for 4. In mono white for 4, you can put,
or you can buff it or others.
Yeah, and in mono white, you can again pay 4 and put 4 counters on other creatures you control, or you can combine them and do green white and
do a little bit.
And
of
that's
everything.
just the bare minimum cost. With the X cost, you could continue to pay that over and over and over again, and just put a ton of counters out.
Great late game play.
Yeah, that was interesting to me. Yeah, how that had X and then 4. You can just pay infinite mana on this and just make your creatures bigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that's, I think, a really cool way to do these, because it's similar to the prototype cost. It makes them effective if their non-X cost is low, both early game and late game. Just like the prototype cards, where I can drop Clay Champion for 4 and get a really effective creature for 4, but I can also drop him for 8 and get a really effective creature for 8.
Yeah, I like Clay Champion, especially as a standard card.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Nice addition for white and standard,
exactly.
and a nice addition for green.
Yep.
Do you think it fits into the current Esper mid-range deck?
I don't think so.
My answer is also no, because you're not going to have enough double white to really make use of him.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that deck doesn't have a ton of creatures to put counters on to begin with, or that don't already get their own counters.
Right. Just wants Rafine conniving over and over.
What's your next pick, other Dave?
I'm going to go with what is possibly my favorite card so far, which is the Phyrexian Flesh Gorger.
Mm.
It is one of the prototype cards, 7 converted mana cost. The prototype is 2 black and 1 generic. Make sure I said that correctly this time.
Yep.
I don't want to make moderator Dave angry. So for its prototype cost, it's a 3/3. For its full cost, it's a 7/5. It has menace and lifelink, and then it has ward, pay life equal to Phyrexian Flesh Gorger's power. So
That's the important part.
I think at 3, this is a great value. 3 for a 3/3 menace lifelink, ward, pay life equal to its power. I think for 7, it's a great value.
Yeah.
Again, for a 7/5 menace lifelink, pay life, ward, pay life equal to its power. This card is probably specifically what they had in mind when they made Gix's command.
Yeah. This card, because it doesn't target.
Yeah.
This card, that ward really makes the card, man.
Yeah, no, that ward is nasty.
Yeah, you want to kill this? It's like taking it to the face. It's like it attacking you if you want to kill it. It's great.
I love it. Yeah, this is good. This is also the prototypes, since we're talking about this again. Great showcase of how they're designing artifacts in this set to incentivize putting them in colored decks, but giving you the option not to, because being able to cast this in the early game for its prototype cost is a benefit that you get for being black.
Yeah, before you would have to be in red or green because it would cost that in the actual casting cost. I like how they're trying to skirt that because I was really worried about this set being a Brothers War set and using the new ideology of colored artifacts. So they didn't do any of those, but they found different ways to kind of balance it, which is to make them not so super powered. Yeah, it's great.
I feel like the colored artifacts kind of intrinsically ruins the thing that makes artifacts, that made artifacts inherently cool in old school Magic.
Yeah, because you can't use them in every deck.
This is a nice halfway between the compromise that I think really works. Very cool card. What's your next card?
I will talk about my prototype card that I picked. I think Flex Scourger I like a lot more, but this one's an interesting card. It's called Arcane Proxy. It costs 7 generic for a 4/3 artifact creature wizard. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, exile a target instant or sorcery card with mana value less than or equal to Arcane Proxy's power from your graveyard. Copy that card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. That 7 cost is what I'm not interested in, but I am interested in, maybe in later turns, but the prototype cost is 2 blue and a generic for a 2/1. So essentially this is a Snapcaster Mage, maybe? It basically does the Snapcaster thing, where you play the card for 3 and then you get something. It's a 2/1, so you get a instant or sorcery that costs 2 out of your or less out of your graveyard that you can play without paying its costs. So
nice. I do like this card. Like you said, 7.
Play this, get your bolt back.
Yeah. Get the prototype.
The thing that makes Snapcaster more powerful is it has flash. Snapcaster has flash. This does not.
Yeah.
That might be a showstopper, but I do like the design of the card because no matter which mode you're playing it in, you're getting 1 extra mana value out of it. So it's cool.
I like the art. I think it's like a robot wearing a cloak. It's kind of goofy. It's kind of cool.
He's a wizard.
He's a wizard robot with a cloak.
It being a wizard isn't non-important. It can be relevant.
Wizard tribal's a thing. Yeah, I like it. I really like the prototypes. I think we could talk about every single prototype in the set and how it's cool, but gotta keep the length down. So what's your next pick? No, wait, is it me? It's me. What's your next pick, moderator Dave? Well, actually, it's 3 picks in 1 because it's my podcast. Do what I want. I'm talking about the Mine Worker, the Power Plant Worker, and the Tower Worker. They're doing the Tron Land Rift thingy where you gain an ability, and it's better for each different worker you have in play. So I'll just start at the beginning.
So I wasn't entirely wrong when I said that they would put Tron in this set.
Yeah, it's just the wrong kind of Tron.
Yeah.
So we have first up Mine Worker, which is 2 generic, and it is a artifact creature assembly worker, 2/1 power toughness, and it also comes with the ability tap. You gain 1 life if you control a creature named Power Plant Worker, and Tower Worker, you gain 3 life instead. That's neat. Very cool. Very flavorful. And then we have Tower Worker. It's a 3 generic, and it's an artifact creature assembly worker with reach because it works in a tower. And it has add 1 colorless mana if you control creatures named Mine Worker and Power Worker. Add 3 colorless mana instead. And then we have Power Plant Worker. It's a 5 generic mana artifact creature assembly worker, 4/4 with pay 3 generic mana. Power Plant Worker gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control creatures named Mine Worker and Tower Worker, put 2/+2/+2 put 2+1/+1 counters on Power Plant Worker instead. Activate only once each turn.
They should make +2/+2 counters just to confuse people.
They should.
Might as well.
This is the +2/+2 counter. This is the +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
Can I remove it if it says remove 1+1/+1 counter? No, you can't. It's a +2/+2 counter. It's different. I like the flavor. I think these 3 in a row might be contenders for most flavorful card. we'll have to see at the end of the show.
I like how tower, you can tap tower for the 3 and then buff the power plant worker permanently because you have all 3 of them. I like that. Synergy.
Yeah.
And some synergy, yeah.
I also like the art on tower worker. It's the window washer.
It's a very clever nod to Tron without making something that is powerful and you're going to see everywhere. You can make the nod in your commons and people can see the cool nod and they don't, it doesn't have to be something insane.
Yeah. I think that this
I smell an assembly worker deck.
I know. That's what I was going to ask. Do you think that this is the start of a assembly worker tribal theme?
Assembly worker challenge?
Oh, I don't.
Yes. So they got the Academy manufacturer, or no? It's not that. It's Anyway, they got cards that can help this out.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I like it.
I love it. Other Dave, you're up next.
My next pick is kind of purely art based, and I know I can sometimes be the art nerd here, but Dreams of Steel and Oil.
Yeah,
I love the art on this card.
It is really cool. I love the name of the card too. Actually, I'm not gonna lie.
Jeremy Wilson, he does some really good art anyway, but he did a good job with this card. It's a pretty cool card too. I mean, for 1 black and sorcery, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an artifact or creature card from it, then choose an artifact or creature card from the graveyard and exile the chosen cards. It's probably going to be super relevant with Unearth back and being on artifact and the sheer amount of artifacts you're probably likely to see here soon.
This is a banger in standard. Right now.
No, it's going to see a lot of play in standard.
Needed any help?
And again, I really like this dude's art. Check out his website, jeremywilsonart.com, if you want to see some other art by him. And that's where I'm getting my secret art paychecks from.
Oh, no.
There you go.
No, I love it too. I think it's a really cool card too. I'm up next, so I'm going to go with Arms
Are
Weight.
you?
I am. Oh, no. Are you up next? I'm trying to skip you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I am.
I'm very.
Man,
it's okay.
We should have cut him out. Look, he's in active addiction right now.
He's just going for the throat like this card. I'm just going to talk about this real quick. I think it's a good removal spell. It's 1 black, one generic, destroy target non-artifact creature. It's an instant. I think that's going to see a lot of standard play. How cheap it is. It doesn't cost double anything. It's just 1 black and 1 colorless.
Do you think it will see a lot of standard play with how many artifact creatures there's going to be?
Yeah, it not being able to target artifact creatures is kind of a downside, but also there's quite a lot of targets for it in the meta right now with Rafine, Old Bartholomew, those kind of things.
Children.
Yeah, I also think Pioneer might be a good place for it, and maybe Modern. I don't know. We'll see.
I can definitely see it in Pioneer.
Yeah.
But my real pick, well, that's a pick, but I have 6, so I just threw that in there real quick, is Surge Engine. It is 2 generic artifact creature construct. It's a 3/2 with Defender. You can play 1 blue. Surge Engine loses Defender and gain. This creature can't be blocked. You can also pay 1 blue and 2 colorless. Surge Engine becomes blue and has base power and toughness of 5/4. Activate only if Surge Engine doesn't have Defender. And then the next mode is 2 blue and 4 generic. Draw 3 cards. Activate only if Surge Engine is blue and only once. Yeah, I think it's good. Even if you don't get to that last one, the other pump abilities, quote unquote, are very good. And these things are tricky because you look at them and you're like, oh, that seems fine. But then when somebody uses it against you, you realize it's like the Ascended Spirit issue, right? It's more powerful than it looks.
Question. This first ability, pay 1, Surge Engine, loses Defender, gains, this creature can't be blocked. That's a permanent change because it doesn't say till end of turn, right?
Correct. Yes.
So you don't have to.
It's basically level up.
Yeah. Why didn't they just do that? It's kind of, it's hurt my brain a little bit.
Certain plane. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the ability to spend mana to make this creature just a little bit better as the game progresses. I think it's cool. Okay. So my turn now. Arms Race. 3 generic and 1 red. Enchantment. It has pay 3 generic and 1 red. You may put an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield. That artifact gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. That's a neat card.
This seems... It's only uncommon, which is weird. And I guess for a limited format, sure. Maybe that's the why, but this seems kind of powerful.
I like it. I want to do something with it. I don't know how I'm going to exploit it yet, but it seems like...
I can tell you how you're going to exploit it.
How am I going to exploit it?
Put that common 10/10 onto the battlefield for 4 mana.
Or for 4 mana, you can play another card that's currently in the list of cards you have to talk about, and at least get its enter the battlefield effect.
Ah, ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That's a good point. So you just want to talk about that now? Or
Yeah.
You want to... Okay, so the card he is talking about is, I assume, Portal to Phyrexia. It costs 9. It is an artifact. And when Portal to Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. So cheating this into play with Arms Race is basically for 4, your opponent has to get rid of 3 creatures. That is pretty good. And then the rest of the card is at the beginning of your upkeep. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It is a Phyrexian in addition to other types. So
technically, even so, this Arms Race does not have any time frame stipulations on it. You could do that during your untap step. Bring in Portal to Phyrexia. It will be in play for your upkeep, and you will get a creature out of their graveyard for your graveyard.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
So
the creature doesn't go away like the Phyrexian does.
Yes.
Yep.
So you get the best creature in the graveyard, and also deal with 3 other creatures for 4 if you do this on your draw step or untap step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Seems to be, yes.
That's a pretty good combo, a 2-card combo. Nice.
Beginning of the next end step, I guess you could even really do it at your opponent's end step, just to make sure.
Yeah, you could. That way.
Oh yeah, it's the Fable problem. Yeah, it's the Fable of the Mirror Breaker thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Roger. Okay,
true that.
I love that card. Any more thoughts on that before we move on? That or Phyrexia Portal 2.
Portal to Phyrexia is going to get cheated. I'm sure people are finding ways to cheat that card onto the battlefield as we speak.
I don't think anybody really wants to pay 9 for that, even at 9 it might be worth it. But
I mean, I suppose if you're not in standard, there's enough ways to reduce its cost. Even
Oh yeah. I guess
Dugan and Karn would both reduce its cost down to like 5. Is that right? Mm-hmm. You run them in conjunction.
Yeah. Dude, in that Nykthos ramp deck, this is broke. There's a lot of cards from here that you can wish board for Karn. Like you wish for Karn, you have the mana to pay for it because you're on Nykthos ramp, Devotion or whatever, and then you just have destroy their board and then charge in. Crazy.
Mm-hmm. Does this?
People are saying Karn's going to get banned for this in the Stone Brain and the Coffin or whatever, the Stasis Coffin.
I can see it.
All of it. It's not Karn's going to get banned in Pioneer specifically. That's what the people are saying.
Wasn't he already on the fence because of the Karn Lattice combo? Like, wasn't that already a thing people were upset about?
I don't think right now it's not the Lattice. It's the Pestilent Cauldron.
Okay.
But it's the same idea. People are abusing Karn to do things that you probably shouldn't.
Well, the Lattice is like a complete shutdown if you pull it off, right? Because Karn says activated abilities, artifact abilities of your opponents can't be activated, and Lattice turns everything into an artifact, so they can't even use their land.
Oh, yeah. I think that's maybe a modern thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it is a modern thing. This Lattice is too far back to be in Pioneer.
Does
Lattice is banned actually. That makes sense.
Portal to Phyrexia C play in a deck kind of like the Urzatron decks where you generate a lot of mana to
yes, it could
stuff out.
I mean, sacrificing three creatures is a pretty big deal.
Mm.
So I would assume
it might. It probably won't replace Ensnaring Bridge, but certainly will be extra protection. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sick. All right, what's your?
I am going to go with Fauna Shaman. So it's 2/2 for 1 green and 1 generic. I'm going to say generic with vitriol every time I say it. Just for 1 green, you can tap and discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. I mean, basically, you can trade a creature out for any creature in your deck for whatever situation you may need.
Yeah.
Whatever ETB you need or whatever.
If you draw a Llanowar Elf turn 10,
turn that Llanowar Elf into a Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah. I think it's a really cool card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great card. The name's funny to say too, Fauna Shaman. It's basically a tutor card thingy creature.
Yeah, a repeatable
tutor
card. As long as you have a creature to discard.
This gets play with fire rather frequently, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I'm going to say it probably never gets to do what you want it to do because it seems like it's always going to be a target for removal. It's going to get killed.
Imagine Fauna Shamaning for that 10/10 that costs 10 mana artifact creature in the set, and then Portal to Phyrexian into the battlefield. Boom.
Mm-hmm. So you would have to act, well, in order to pull that off, naturally you would have to discard a creature to pull it out of your deck.
Sorry, arms race. You arms race it in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fauna Shaman to grab it from your library, and then you arms race it in for 4 mana.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
That's what I was meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just an easy way to keep consistency with your creatures. You can get your answer right there at instant speed as well.
Yeah, and it's the
you
cost.
Put it in your hand at instant speed, and then you can put it in for instant speed with arms race too. It's crazy.
The cost is so low for this creature that even if you do eat it gets bolted, the turn it comes out, you only paid 2 for it. So and they're not, they'll have a play with fire or whatever in their hand. So I think that even if it gets bolted turn 1, it's not a bad thing for you. Am I wrong to say that? Or because if you can,
it is because you have to untap.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is worst case scenario.
If you untap with it, then it's worth it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying even worst case scenario, they have to waste a burn spell on it. I mean, that's not terrible because now they don't have a burn spell. But if you can untap the following turn and do it once, you're like up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I can go next.
Yeah, go next.
I'll talk about Haywire Might. It is a 1 generic mana value, 1/1 artifact creature insect. When Haywire Might dies, you gain 2 life. And you pay a green and sacrifice it. Exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. I like this as a good little threat you put on the board. Back in Mirrodin, they had like the spell bombs that represented a threat on the board. And what's interesting about those is like when you play against them, you don't really want to like, I got to get this thing off the board before I put my artifact down, right? Because they're just going to kill it at instant speed immediately. Mm-hmm. So it presents that way, but also if you happen to have, in this case, protection from green and the spell bomb, like spell bomb's used in modern because it gets around protection from red because it's an artifact, it's a colorless source. This is the same way, but it'd be green, which isn't that common to have protection from green in the formats, but it might be effective that way. But it does represent that threat on the board. I like it.
I mean, it's not that often you see protection on non-creature artifacts or non-creature enchantments anyway. So
Yeah. But if they do kill it to prevent their thing from dying, you gain 2 life.
And you get that 2 life trigger when you sacrifice it as well. Correct?
right.
Correct.
Yep. So
I do think it works like the flag bearer, like you're talking about, where people have to kill it, have to use their removal on it before they play whatever they're playing.
And also, it's so low cost, you could just lay it for 1 and pay a green and destroy it immediately. It's a 2.
Yeah.
It's a disenchant that sits on the board.
Except it doesn't hit creatures that are artifacts.
Yeah, it specifically has to be non-creature, right? Which is a drawback, I think. But
I still think this sees play just because of the heavy artifact that we're seeing right now. I think it might even see main board play in green deck.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's non-creature.
Yeah, I think it sees sideboard in modern.
Creature enchantment. There's a lot of like the arms race. A lot of
Kamigawa.
Yeah, and
go ahead. You were going a different way.
No, I was going. There's a lot of targets for non-creature enchantments in standard because you have the sagas, like enchantments like arms race, those kind
before
of
they flip.
Yeah, obviously before they flip. So Fable of the Mirror Breaker, man, deal with it for 2 mana before it flips. So yeah, I think this card sees play.
Cool.
So here's my last pick, I guess. Going to talk about the one, the only, the OG Praetor, Gix Yawgmoth Praetor.
All will be one.
All will be one. Yes. Oh. He finally gets a card. Correct me if I'm wrong. Gix doesn't have a card yet.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does. Disciple of Gix, Gixian.
He doesn't have a card. We already looked this up.
Oh,
yeah, because he was my pick when we were.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he didn't have a card.
Long time thing. People been asking for get a card. Yeah. This is first card.
Oh, and it's a pretty good card, right? I'll read it to you, and you guys tell me what you think. It's one generic black legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, 3/3 power and toughness. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its control may pay 1 life. If they do, they draw a card. And then it also has pay 4 generic black, discard X cards, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library. You may play land and cast spells from among the cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. What do you guys think?
Is this the first time we've ever seen you be able to play lands from an effect like this off of somebody's library? That's weird.
Somebody else's library?
Yeah.
I think this might be the first time I can think of.
It's the first time I can think of it. It's a weird effect. Boy, this card is a lot to unpack. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay one life. The creature's controller may pay 1 life, and then you get to draw a card. It's worded like this for commander, right?
Yes. This is definitely a commander plant.
I mean, by itself, it's not terrible. So you attack with 3 creatures, you can pay 3 life, draw 3 cards, right?
Got a 3/3 body for 3, which isn't terrible. And yeah, when you're dealing combat damage, you can draw cards, even though it's going to cost you a life. It's card advantage. And black doesn't really. Life is a resource.
Yes, it is.
It's also a highway, I've been led to believe.
I like it well enough. Yeah, it seems like it'll be fun to play around with. I don't know how often you're going to activate the 7 mana.
Yeah. That seems just like icing on the cake nonsense. More commander nonsense, really. I think... go ahead.
But I always do love beating people with their own cards. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's neat.
I think that the first line of text, with it being a 3/3 is a good thing. I think it's good that way. You don't need the second one, but that's just extra cake, I guess. I don't know. I'd like to see how this fits into that mono black deck that's floating in standard. I'd like to see if they use it.
I haven't been watching a lot of standard. Does that mono black deck traditionally get to 7 mana? Just out of curiosity.
I don't really know.
Okay.
Good question.
Does anything get to 7 mana anymore? I feel like everything.
Yeah, in standard. Yeah.
All right. What's your next?
I mean, you can go green black and pay for it with dryads.
True. I'll pay for most of it with dryads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
you're right.
That might be interesting. Get a Golgari thing going on. All right. Next pick is moving on.
Myro? I'm not really sure how you say that. Mural. Shield of Argive is 1 white, 3 generic. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Whenever Myro Shield of Argive attacks, create X11 soldier tokens. X11 colorless soldier artifact tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control.
Ooh.
That sounds nasty.
That's a 3/4.
I mean,
that's very cumulative. If you keep attacking, you're going to snowball really quickly.
She seems like she can take control of a game by herself. Like, I think this card is really good. Makes it so your spells can't be countered on your turn. So it gives you kind of a free reign to not worry about counter spells, because your opponents can't cast spells on your turn, can't get stuff removed on your turn. You don't have to worry about combat tricks. They can't activate abilities on your turn. All that makes it easier for her to attack and double those soldiers all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a really good card.
I smell a Pioneer, that buff to that Pioneer Humans deck.
Yeah, are a lot of the humans in that
really
deck soldiers? Out of curiosity.
They can be.
Okay.
I think that there's a deck sitting there in Pioneer for this, and
I'm sure this could.
They've been pushing soldiers in standard.
I mean, this could go in any human deck probably and be effective, regardless of the amount of soldiers that are in it. Because like getting to play on your turn without having to worry about opponent interactivity is huge, as old Free Fairy taught us.
Yep. Card. And in white, that's great.
Yeah. This card's a good card. It's going to see play. It's just how many different formats is it going to see play, and I think is the question.
I think Thalia and her lieutenant are both soldiers, plus Brutal Cathar's soldier. That's enough to really build around, in my opinion. Yeah, that's great. That's cool.
Yeah, nice.
I like it.
Yep. What's your next pick, Ben?
I have Hercule, Master Wizard, 2 blue and a generic legendary creature, human wizard advisor, 2/4. At the beginning of your end step, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. For each card type among non-creature spells you've cast this turn, you may put a card of that type among the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's a lot of words for if you cast a non-creature spell at the end of your end step, you get to reveal cards and then find the type that you've cast, and then you can put that into your hand. So specifically, this card would be for your blue, red, your Is It type decks, I think. Essentially, you're getting at least, hopefully 2 cards at minimum each turn. For an instant and a sorcery, you pick. If you cast an instant, you get an instant. If you cast a sorcery, you get a sorcery. If you cast both, you get one or the other if they're there. So I think this is cool. I like it. It's a good body.
So which version of Is It do you think this goes into?
I was thinking about there's the prowess version, but also maybe Arclight Phoenix. Might have to play around with it. The big downside is that it's at the beginning of your end step.
Yeah,
and I guess that keeps it from being broken. But you can still get some answers for, their turn,
right?
Your opponent's turn. So I don't know. I want to play around with this card a lot.
And I know the current Is It deck that you see in Explorer, at least, cast almost all their spells on their turn anyway. They very rarely cast any of that stuff as an instant because they want to get the
prowess triggers
and the symmetry mage charges and Dreadhorde Arcanist rolling. I don't see them casting a creature that costs 3 though in that version of the deck.
Just too slow.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't cut Dreadhorde Arcanist.
It would stall the rest of their plan out for that turn, right?
And then in the Arclight Phoenix deck, I'm just not.
And a lot of their instant spells are like draw card spells that help them get that 3, so they don't really need it, I suppose. So I think this card's interesting, and I think that I kind of want to mess around with it a little bit to see where it would fit.
It seems really fun. I can definitely. Don't forget instant sorceries.
It has 2 good things going for it. Its back end is a 4, so it's out of bolt range, and it costs 3, which is out of Fatal Push main mode without Revolt. So that has a lot of going for it that makes me want to value this card higher, but it's just finding a place for it, I guess, is the thing.
You guys have missed what makes this card absolutely unstoppable. It's a human wizard advisor. This bad boy right here is going to slot into my persistent petitioners deck like nobody's business. It's going to do work.
Your persistent petitioners deck isn't just 44 persistent petitioners and 16 lands?
No, that's trash.
Okay.
Oh, because it's an advisor. Do you also have Ledger Shredders in that deck by chance?
Oh, hell
he's
yeah.
also a bird advisor.
Totally do have Bartholomew in this thing that I just now made up for a joke. But
yeah,
I mean, keep in mind that he does also hit enchantments and planeswalkers
and artifacts. Yep. Planeswalkers. Yep. You're right.
So, I mean, maybe he can slot into. I feel like Blue-White Control would love to be able to dig for their planeswalkers and.
Yeah, that 5-color or that 4-color planeswalker deck that's floating around a lot now on Arena.
I haven't seen that. Maybe it's lost in there. Like Blue-White Control is going to end up killing Hercule too many times, I think.
Yeah.
For board wipes.
That's true. It's a cool card, though.
Yep. Awesome. It appears to me like you might have one more card, Ben. You want to talk about it, and then we can wrap this show up?
Yeah, this kind of goes with it, I guess. It's Third Path Iconoclast. It is a red and a blue. Creature Human Monk, 2/1. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature token. This is just another engine that you could use to go off like you do with Cackling Drake or Arclight Phoenix decks in that same engine.
Yes.
Maybe not in that same deck, but it's the same idea. You just put a bunch of cantrips in and just make a whole bunch of colorless soldier artifact creature tokens. And if you put this in a deck that focuses and cares about how many artifacts you have, then you could do some really cool stuff with it.
The only thing that you need is a bunch of instants and sorceries, Third Path Iconoclast, and Monetary Swift Spear, and you're done. Deck built.
That's what I was going to say. You got to put Monetary
Yeah,
Swift in there.
I would love that.
Smooth like butter. Okay.
Throw some Chandras or Jaya Ballards that make the monks also, prowess monks, just for a higher curve. Yeah.
Let's call it the blue red monk deck, plus with some soldiers also, kind of.
Well, he makes soldiers, but he's a monk.
Yeah, but they're going to be there. You don't want to discount the soldiers; they go upset. Of course, they're artifacts, so maybe they won't. I don't know. Cards and artifacts.
No, they're heartless.
Kind of. So maybe. I don't know.
No, he isn't.
Well, technically he's
not on his cards at least. Yeah, but not on his cards.
Maybe that's why he isn't. It's because he's sentient. But that's a.
He'd be broken if he was an artifact.
Yeah. I'm gonna go get my stuff from the wishboard. All right, let's dub the most flavorful card, and then let's wrap this show up. What are we going for? Are we going for?
Doesn't Dave have another one?
No. Oh wait, I guess he does. No, wait. Didn't he talk about that one?
I did not.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
don't think so.
Go ahead.
So the last card I have on my list is Misery Shadow. It is 1 black and 1 generic. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Oh, it's also a 2/2. And then you can pay 1 generic to give Misery Shadow +1/+1 until the end of turn.
Yes.
I do like this. Like, I feel like in the past we've seen, even just when it was 1 black, a creature gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn. We've seen those creatures kind of control the board in a way because you can swing with them and then save your mana for the second thing in phase and then buff if you need to. But this one is colorless, so it can fit in multicolored decks.
The pump effect is colorless, yeah.
And it gives you that added benefit of preventing your opponent's creatures from going to the graveyard and all graveyard shenanigans. It just seems like it'll be an effective card.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if somebody's like, hey, I'm going to bolt your Misery Shadow, and you're like, I'm going to pump it in response, it makes it nice.
Yeah, I agree. This is going to do some
harder
work.
to remove that way.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for the sneaky.
Let's crown the most flavorful card of the set and then wrap this show up. What do you guys think?
I think that the Tower bot is the best, most flavorful, in my opinion.
I will. I'm going to mash all the assembly workers together because that's kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Arms Race and the Awaken the Woods. Was that the name of the card? Somebody went through and deleted the cards as we talked.
Awaken the Woods. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that one a lot. But, and obviously, Gix getting his own card is very notable. But I think we're going to drop Gix out of the running right away because while it's cool he's got a card, I just don't think it reeks of flavor in the way that some of these other cards do. So
I also throw in Brotherhood End that we talked about before too. I think that's a real flavorful card.
Brotherhood's End, yeah, it is actually a really flavorful card. It's hard. See, Brothers.
I would give it to the assembly workers just because of the nod to the past as well as like to me that's it's not just a nod to the story, but it's also a nod to the cards as well.
Yeah. I'm on board. We're gonna go with the workers. Always side with the workers and give mine worker, power plant worker, tower worker a shared.
Unionize the assembly workers.
Yes, unionize. We're gonna unionize the assembly workers and grant them this set's most flavorful card, most lickable card.
Sweet.
So,
all right. I have one more question. Power level overall in the set. First impressions. Do you think this is on, Crimson Vow level or Throne of Eldraine level? Where does it fall on the barometer?
Somewhere between the two.
Yeah, I need to see how all the artifacts are going to play out before I really put my foot out. Because as we know from the original Urza Saga and Mirrodin, artifacts can be very deceptive in power level. And
they can
get to play with them.
And I think that this is less than both of those. We'll see. There are some very powerful artifacts, just like Mirrodin had powerful artifacts. Mm-hmm. There are some very powerful ones here, but I'm not sure that it's crazy.
No, it's definitely not Mirrodin
levels.
What was
super crazy out of Crimson Vow other than Meat Hook?
Nothing.
That was the point.
The low end.
That was the low end.
Oh.
A meat hook was in Midnight Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing in
Okay.
Crimson Vow, really.
Yeah, I got it backwards. That's what I was like. Wait.
It's my least favorite set of a long time.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't do much.
So me saying somewhere in between was not the statement that I thought it was.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be less than Eldraine, but not by much. I don't think we're going to see multiple cards get banned from it, like we did with Eldraine. Super early in Eldraine's,
Right.
lifespan. Because what is Oko?
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind
of time we're both banned within like the first month of Throne being out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Throne was kind of wild. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely nowhere near Crimson Vow. I think it's up there closer to Eldraine. So I'm with Dave on that one.
Hey, wait. Hold on. I'm sorry to derail this further. Wasn't there a card in here that was like Skull Clamp?
Oh,
that
yeah.
I totally
that
missed?
was Transmographer's Crown. Yeah.
What is it? An artifact?
Artifact. It gives creature +2/+2, and then if it would die, draw a card.
Yeah.
I mean, +1 plus.
Is this broken?
No.
It has equip 2 or
Skull
black.
Clamp is broken because you can attach it to something with 1 toughness and kill it.
And it immediately dies. So this is
Right.
less broken, but
Yeah.
with all the sack outlets they have.
Yeah, there's a lot of sack outlets.
This probably has the breaker scale, the highest breaker scale in this
But you have to build around that
set, right?
Yeah.
to build the stack engine and draw the card and do all that stuff. Whereas,
That's right. It doesn't just slot into every deck like Skull Clamp.
Yeah.
Skull Clamp was just everywhere.
It doesn't speed up your elf deck.
Definitely doesn't speed the elf deck up.
Okay. All right.
I still
That
can't
was my
believe
last liner note.
nobody saw something was wrong when somebody was saying that. It was like, anyways.
This is
I like
fine.
the card.
No problem.
I think it's a great card. I like the fixed Skull Clamp aspect of it, but I don't think it's broke.
We'll see.
We shall see, I guess.
We'll see.
Yeah, for real. All right. Well, that was the spoiler show, everyone. Why don't you tell everyone where to find us, Ben?
You can find us on Twitter at MPGPod. You can find me on my personal Twitter at BeNiceMPG. Where can they find you, moderator Dave?
They can find me on Twitter at Dave_MPG. Where are you currently located, other Dave? Or is to assume that you're at your house and stop asking you? Or
I am at my house and I am not on the internet. I am a ghost in the machine.
As we all are fixing to be as soon as Twitter falls apart. You can also send.
I think your Twitter account needs to be banned from impersonating someone.
I can barely impersonate myself, let alone anyone else. As I was saying, though, you can send emails to us at show@magicprovinggrounds.com or podcast@magicprovinggrounds.com. Take your pick. All these links are in the show notes. Cue the outro music.